Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special webinar tonight on Boston Ballet School's 2026 Summer Dance Program. My name is Amy Brandt, and I will be your host this evening. We are very lucky to have three guests from Boston Ballet here who are going to give us a really in-depth look at Boston Ballet School's Summer Dance Program. This will be a wonderful opportunity for you all to learn more about how their intensives are structured, their curriculum, where dancers will be housed, what they'll be learning, what kind of supplemental classes they'll be taking, what they'll be doing in their spare time, really everything that parents and young dancers would want to know as they head into audition season and decide where they want to go next summer. So we will reserve some time for questions at the end. So feel free to drop any inquiries into the chat and we will address it later on. Hopefully we'll be able to get to all of them. I know you have a lot of questions, I'm sure. Also, we will be posting this webinar to Pointe Magazine's YouTube channel. So you can also come back at any time to revisit anything if you know you're having trouble remembering or just want to double check something. So without further ado, let's welcome our guests and let you know a little bit more about them. First, I'd like to introduce Tamara King, Associate Director of Boston Ballet School. Welcome, Tamara, right?
Yeah, it's Tamara King. I'm Associate Director of Boston Ballet School. And thank you. We're so excited and so thrilled to be a part of this evening's webinar. So before we get started, I just wanted to take a few moments and share a little bit about my professional background before we get into the moving forward. Certainly, I was very fortunate to have a professional career for 15 years working for Ballet West and Boston Ballet under the artistic directorship of Mr. Bruce Marks. It was extraordinary experience getting to perform in so many lovely ballets, leading roles in classical, neoclassical, and contemporary works, and the opportunity to work with extraordinary individuals. So I feel truly grateful for that experience. Upon retiring, I ended up actually becoming very interested in teaching and developing my skills as an artistic educational leader. And so with that, over the course of, a number of years, and long story short, I returned back to Boston Ballet in the year of 2000 to take over the full-time faculty position and the principal of SDP. An interesting side note, I was a scholarship student in SDP 2 years in a row, 1979 and 1980. And it was actually my first touch point with the organization. And I've been associated with the organization on and off now for over 45 years. So upon that, I ended up taking over. I was appointed the principal of the Newton Studio, and where I spent a fair amount of time. We built our state-of-the-art 7-studio extravaganza built on universal principles. It's a fully inclusive location and houses our students during STP for the summer. And then from there, I was appointed principal of the school and where I oversaw all the operations within the school. And then a few years later, I was appointed the associate director, where I worked very closely with Mr. Mikko Niksinen, who's the artistic director, and my very dear colleague and friend, Mr. Joan Boada, who's the associate director of BB2. So with that, this is a little information about my personal professional career. So
Thanks, Tamara. Wow, like you really are the whole package in terms of like your history with Boston Ballet School. So it's
I'm
great
really
to have you.
fortunate. It's a wonderful organization. So thank you. Yeah.
And speaking of Joan Boada, he is also here. Joan, where are you?
Hi, I am here
Hi.
in Boston right now. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be working along Tamara and Sean Watkins here present with Mikko Nisinen for the company and as associate director of Boston Ballet II. This is my 4th year working with the organization. I'm very, very, very happy. And I really wish, I'm not going to make my whole story as long as Miss Tamara King, because you have another program to talk about. But I'm sad that I never got to experience my program. I grew up in Cuba. I went through all my years of study that were there. And then I moved to France where I got to dance for multiple companies in Europe, and then I made my career in San Francisco Ballet later on, from 99 to 2016 when I retired as a principal dancer all those years. And I started teaching a little bit, and I worked with the Kirov Academy in Washington, D.C. before the closure, which was a very unfortunate situation that rolled out there. And I wanted to place the dancers that were at those 3 years graduating in the best school possible. And that's when I contacted Tamara King and Miko Incident, because we knew that they had a program very equivalent to what the parents of the Kirov Academy wanted to their kids, our students to continue studying. So that's how I make my foot in the door here at Boston Ballet. I worked with them previously as setting a piece for the company, but this was my first time as a SEP faculty member.
It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. And also, we have Sean Watkins, a manager of professional track programs at Boston Ballet, who will really help guide us through these conversations tonight. So, Sean, I will turn it over to you. I'm sure you have a lot you want to talk about this great program.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Thank you, Tam, Joan. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I'm Sean Watkins. I'm the manager of professional track programs. I have been with Boston Ballet since 2017 in different capacities, but really for the most part, my main focus has been our summer programs, especially coming through the COVID period, coming out of COVID. We've seen the program through a lot of iterations. And every year we make, really strong improvements to make what I think is a really, really strong program. And I'm super excited to talk to all of you about it tonight. Let me jump right into what we have started. Okay. So I know we're talking primarily about summer dance program, but I do want to start really quickly talking about junior summer intensive, just right off the top, just to get it kind of in your heads, make it known. In my opinion, it's still a relatively new program. This will be the 4th summer we're offering it. It's a junior summer intensive. It's a 2-week program for ages 9 to 12. So I want to give that a quick highlight. I know a lot of us have other siblings, cousins, peers in the dance world who might be looking for summer training as well. The Junior Summer Intensive has become a really great program for Boston Ballet School in the past couple of years that we're excited to keep growing. It's a 2-week program, and this year we're running 3 sessions of it. We've been really, really happy with how the program has grown over the 3 years we've done it so far. So we're excited to expand into 3 different options for students to attend. So it's 2 different 2-week sessions spanning all the way from late June all the way through July, so families can choose what works for them. It's hosted at Walnut Hill School for the Arts, which is in Natick, Massachusetts, about 30 minutes west of Boston. And that is it's the home of Boston Ballet School's professional division. So Boston Ballet School has an existing and standing partnership with Walnut Hill School. And, it's a really fantastic place for students to be in the summer. It's a one-stop shop for their dorms, their training, their dining on their kind of, as you can see, part of here, a beautiful green campus. So it's a really exciting opportunity for students who are looking to kind of dip their toes into their first summer intensive experience. Because it is for ages 9 to 12, it's a little bit of a younger program, of course. We don't have the full-blown audition tour that we do for SDP. And this is an application-based program. And applications are now live on Boston Ballet School's Dance Apply page. Just a quick look at what the program looks like. It's a relatively intensive program with about 5.5 hours of training every day. So we have technique, point, or pre-point, depending on the student's experience in the morning, before 3 hours of class in the afternoon that rotate through a variety of different supplemental classes. So while it's kind of ballet forward and giving students, the technique foundation that they need for future training and future intensives, we do also expand their vocabulary in the afternoons as well. So I want to put that out there in the beginning. As people are looking at summer training, we have an option for younger students as well. And then for kind of the main attraction of the evening, summer dance program is where we'll spend most of our time with tonight. We'll kind of talk about this in four different parts. We'll go through the structure and the curriculum for the program before talking a bit about the faculty that students work with in the summer. We will make sure to cover residential life, which is a huge part of any program, but especially our program as well. Boston is a fantastic place to be in the summer. And then we'll wrap up with making sure you all know how and where to audition and what the different timelines look like for that. All right, so we will get started with our structure and curriculum. I'm going to catch myself up here in my notes. The quick hits. We'll talk about all of these in a bit more detail, but Summer Dance Program is a program for ages 12 to 18. It is a 4-week program that runs the end of June through July. This is relatively new. Typically, we've been a 5-week program. This year, we are going down to 4 weeks. In addition to that, we are adding a 6th day of training. So typically, we've been a 5-day-a-week, 5-week program. For 2026, we'll be doing a 6-day-a-week, 4-week program. We are offering our training out of 2 different studio locations. As Tam mentioned, we have our studio in Newton, and then we have our studio in Boston. Both of these are used for SDP, and students will be at one of those 2 spots. And then housing is at Boston University. So even though we're using 2 different studio locations in Newton and Boston, we do merge the entire housing component at Boston University. Just to give everybody a look at kind of what the calendar looks like for the year. So for residential students, they would move into the dorms on Saturday, June 27th, before we start week 1 with 2 days of placement. This is a chance for the entire student body to take placement classes in front of all of our kind of core faculty so that the same eyes are on all of our students as we sort them into their levels. From there, we go through week 1, weeks 2, 3, 4. You'll see, the 6th day of class there, Saturdays. And then the program will end on Saturday, July 25th, which will be our parent observation day before everybody moves out on Sunday, July 26th. So this is a pretty good snapshot of what the time commitment looks like for our program. Talking about the 2 different studio locations, like I said, we're super lucky to have so much space that allows us to offer this training to so many students. So we'll start with the Newton studio. The Newton studio is where students ages 12 to 15 train in the summer. We'll talk about levels in a little bit, but the Newton studio has levels 1 through 3. During the school year, it is our primary BBS location. Probably about 1,000 or so, probably more than that, are training here over the course of a week during our school year. Is kind of really the central hub of our school location. It's opened in fall 2017, and like Tam said, it really was kind of built for a program like SDP to accommodate, so many students coming to us from around the world. It's not just the studios. We have lobby spaces, large locker rooms. It's a really, really great facility for the summer training. And then we have our Boston location, which is in the south end of Boston. This is where the older half of the student body trains, ages 15 to 18. Levels 3 and higher have curriculum based in the Boston studio. And then during the school year, while the vast majority of school activity is happening in Newton, the Boston location is the home of our main company. So this is where our company rehearses throughout the year, and the South End neighborhood is definitely a draw for this age group especially. It's a really, really great neighborhood with students have a lot of areas to walk to in between classes and downtime, and it's nice to get into the city as part of their daily experience, not just in the evenings back at BU. Again, we'll go into a lot more of the level specific stuff in a little bit, but basically the kind of quick summary is that we have 6 different female levels and 4 different male levels. We'll see curriculum in a second, but the basic differences in the curriculum across the levels is partnering and how much intensity there is around the repertoire experience. So for example, partnering will begin at level 3 for ladies and level 2 for men. And the showcase, which is kind of the more intensive rehearsal-oriented experience, begins at level 5 for the ladies and level 3 for the men. And we'll see a lot more of what that looks like in a little bit. right now. So for the female curriculum, like I said, we have 6 different levels, levels 1 through 5, plus the ensemble level. Newton has levels 1, 2, and 3, and then Boston has more sections of level 3, 4, 5, and the ensemble level. For all of our levels, there's a really strong ballet curriculum foundation. Everybody is getting 2 hours of technique every day, and that includes the Saturdays, plus 1 hour of pointe or variations each day, plus over the course of the week, approximately 2 hours of conditioning. In addition to the strong ballet foundation, partnering, like I said, begins at level 3. And then there's a really strong corps de ballet rehearsal repertoire experience that looks a little bit different for other levels. So because levels 1 and 2 aren't doing partnering, they get an extra hour each week of corps de ballet. Levels 3 and 4 are doing, an hour a week of working on some sort of larger rep piece to be showcased for their families on the observation day. And then levels 5 in the ensemble are working towards the kind of end of program showcase, where they're doing, up to 3 or 4 hours a week of rehearsal, putting something a bit larger together for the end of program showcase. So that's our ballet curriculum. In addition to all of that, we have what we call our supplemental curriculum, which is a combination of kind of just expanding students' dance vocabulary. So you'll see towards the bottom here, everybody is getting an hour a week of character, modern and contemporary. And then levels 1 through 4 are adding salsa and jazz to that as well, whereas the 5 and ensemble are making up that time with their extra rehearsals. A really exciting component of our program is that every year we've been fortunate to have Noah Gelber, who's a repetitor for William Forsythe. He comes to us for the first 2 weeks and works with our level 5 and our ensemble to introduce students to the Forsythe movement style. So that's in lieu of their modern and contemporary for those weeks, but it's a huge draw for those upper level students to come and get that experience, especially as they're beginning to think of what their next steps are, forming audition videos, having that movement style in their pockets really helpful. And then along the bottom here, we see our lecture curriculum, which includes kind of meet the artist, dance history, and then different wellness opportunities as well. And then just to fill in the curriculum with our male curriculum before I kind of get professionals talking about the ballet technique. Our male, like I said, we have 4 levels. M1 is at Newton. M2 will split its time between Boston and Newton. And then M3 in the ensemble train out of our Boston location. Same with the ladies. They're doing 2 hours a day of technique, plus an hour of dedicated men's work or variations, plus that conditioning as well. Partnering begins at M2, and because of, like you saw on the last slide, all the female levels get partnering. The partnering is a pretty big part of the program for our male students, about 4 hours a week. So it's a really great introduction for them to get a really strong foundation for what goes into that kind of work, which is as they continue in their training into the profession, is a huge foundation to have. They have similar corps de ballet and rehearsal time as our ladies do, and then a really similar supplemental curriculum with the character modern contemporary, salsa, and the jazz as well. So that is a pretty quick look at our curriculum across all the different levels, across all the locations. But now I want to turn it over to Tam and Joan to speak a bit to what the actual training looks like in the studio.
Thank you, Sean. That's great. And I'm hoping to answer any questions you may have. Certainly, as the official school of Boston Ballet, the training, the educational philosophy of BBS is reflective of the vision and the artistic leadership of company director, Mikko Niisinen. So all of the work in the school is reflective of his vision of the training and the direction of the company. So it's really important to make that connection between the two. Certainly, in terms of the training itself, we don't necessarily, from a teaching perspective, we want to make sure that we're developing a strong foundational technique in all of our students that really focuses on, proper placement and alignment and clarity of port de bras, coordination, musicality. So all of those things are really important aspects of the training that goes in with working our students. We don't teach a specific methodology at Boston Ballet or style, but instead we utilize the strengths of all of the methodologies to create a more versatile and diverse approach in training our students. And so, as Miko always says, we take the best and leave the rest, and so that's kind of the philosophy behind all the work that we do. We have an incredibly talented and diverse faculty profile team that come from extraordinary and diverse backgrounds that really play a huge part in how we work together in exposing these students as they explore all these different types of movement and components of dance. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the faculty. So, Joan, do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
I mean, once again, Tammy has said everything needed. But no, but it's wonderful.
Just really, I hate public speaking.
I don't have to talk so much. But I know that you got to see a little bit of the emphasis we have for the men specific population on partnering. It's something that is very important. A lot of the schools these days don't put any emphasis in the preparation for the young men to become professional dancers later, which is very well needed to be able to work with a young ballerina, be able to place her correctly and do all the lifts and everything that requires to be a professional dancer. And as we've been moving forward in these summer dance programs, we're seeing like a level getting higher and higher because a lot of the students that we have been coming back. And with that said, that's how we get to the ensemble level, where we put a lot of performing ballets that are beautiful to showcase at the end of the summer dance program.
And as part of that, we have an extraordinary male faculty team that is dedicated to working with these young students in terms of just really educating them on the importance of proper partnering. And so it's an important part of our program and our curriculum. So
I think, Sean, there is a question that you might be the best person to answer in one of the parents in the chat there.
I have the slides up. So I can't take around right this second.
Me too, I know.
There are two questions. I'm not sure which one.
Well, the international student part, Sean, if special.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, what's the question?
It says, do international students, particularly Canadian students, need a visa, and will Boston Ballet School help with the application process?
Yeah, so international students, Canada being a small exception, international students do need an M1 visa for the program. And Boston Ballet School does sponsor that visa with the Form I-20. The exception for Canadians is they do not need the M1 visa, but they still do need the Form I-20 that Boston Ballet will issue. So all the students do go through that process. Canadians, it's a little bit easier not needing the actual visa to come to the program.
Sean, there's another question about level placement. And I had a question as well, but
yeah,
I
please.
just wanted to double check and make sure it wasn't coming like a little bit later down the line.
Go for it.
Okay. Well, the question here was, how do 15-year-old dancers get placed? Because they are kind of split between the two locations. And when will they know which location they will attend?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So basically, the studios are split in half by age. So we have the younger half of our program in Newton and the older half of the program in Boston. We know with like super high confidence on December 2nd that halfway point will be somewhere in the 15-year-old range. Where exactly it falls, we won't have a great idea of until probably April, I would say, March or April. So typically what we've seen from the past 3 years of data, the cutoff is usually students who are 15 years old by mid-January or mid-February. They will most likely get placed into the Boston location. And then students who are turning 15 after mid-January to mid-February would most likely be placed into the Newton studio. The goal of this really is just to make class sizes across the entire program as equitable as possible. So we're not putting ourselves into a situation where we have, 36 kids in a class over here and 24 kids in the class over here. So we will really want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up and setting up our faculty and students to have, balanced class sizes, which is why we aren't able to say for certain where 15-year-olds end up until the spring or so, which is why level 3, where we expect 15-year-olds, are at that partnering level, most likely. So we do have the level 3 curriculum offered in both Newton and in Boston for that exact reason. We know that, age is a matter of circumstance, but we have designed the curriculum across the locations to kind of still be meeting the students where they are, whether that's in Newton or in Boston.
You're very strategic about that whole level 3 component of the placements and where the curriculum lies. It should look identical in both locations, right?
Great question. I'm glad that was covered now.
And I had another question of my own.
Please.
The ensemble level, what is that exactly? Is that a special level, or do they do anything different as opposed to the others?
Yeah, Jean, do you want to take that one for us?
Yeah, I can try to do my best. The ensemble level is pretty much students from most of the time from age 17 to 18. We have had some cases that they just had turned 19, but they were 18 prior to their audition. And it really emphasized on a professional kind of life schedule. So most of their classes would be like a very strong technique class, of course. The male work that we'll offer is very directed in male variations, things that you would do in the repertory later on as a professional dancer. Same goes with the repertoire. We would touch bases that later, but as we put the showcase, we do works like in Sleeping Beauty, first act. We do the Raimonda Adagio. We have done La Bayadere first act, the Pas d'Action, this past year. And I see a question here that I could answer kind of like that at the same time. We have multiple teachers that come for the background of balancing training, and they have a specialized time to put pieces using the vocabulary of balancing, which is tremendous value for any student, whatever age they get it.
I'll add one thing to this too. I think this is important to note. The ensemble is actually combined male and female. They will split up for Pointe and men's class, but their technique classes are together. So in that way, it really, like Joan's saying, like a mini company experience where it's kind of the full group is combined together, taking their class every day.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Amy. Let me catch back up here. We touched briefly on the lecture component. I just want to kind of call out a little bit more of what that is. This is, we really leverage our faculty, and we'll talk about who we have joining us in a little bit, but we have some really great people, both in our year-round team, of course, as well as the guests. And it's great for students to work with them in the studio during technique classes and Pointe classes. But to have a bit of a slower period of time to get to know these faculty a bit better, learn about their backgrounds, learn about their experience, and learn about their pathway and their journey through the profession, through these kind of mentoring and meet the artist sessions, is a really important opportunity for students just to learn more about what different careers look like. They'll learn about different dancers' education backgrounds, different dancers' kind of company experiences, learning about different companies. So it's a really great way for them just to start to build their vocabulary and their knowledge of the industry as a whole, rather than just like technique and what's happening in the actual studio. Also part of the lectures, I want to call out the wellness component. We do have, physical therapy as part of the program. So we learn, week 1, we have our physical therapist do kind of injury prevention lectures for all of our students. We have a partnership with Boston Children's Hospital Sports Medicine Division. So we partner with them to bring in lectures on nutrition, mental skills, especially, tailored specifically for high-level dancers and athletes. So that partnership with Boston Children's is a huge part of our curriculum and part of what we offer to students. And then in the cases where we do have to refer students for sports injury related care, they're getting seen by the best of the best in sports medicine. And then Joan touched on this a little bit at the end of our program. Like I said, the level 5 and the ensemble is working towards that end of program showcase. This takes place in our Studio 7 Black Box Theater. Every single student in the program does go to the Boston studio. Even those who are training in Newton do go to Boston during that last week of the program to see one of the dress rehearsals and get a chance to see what their SDP experience could look like in 4 or 5 years or so. Which is really nice to get students into, all the students into the building to see what the highest level of the program is working on over for this year, just 4 weeks. Sean, do you want to talk a bit any more about what kind of rep we've showcased in these kinds of settings?
Well, in our notes, Sean was very great to put all these little details. Through all the years that I've been here, we worked on, like I said, Sleeping Beauty excerpts from Act 1, Who Cares for Balanchine, La Bayadere, like I said. We also have original choreographies being done by some of our contemporary faculty. In this case, it'd be Levi Marsman. Also, we had a principal ballerina from the company, Kirsten Faintroy, who choreographed in my first year here into that level, ensemble level, that it was a beautiful kind of neoclassical, very spirited dance performed. We have done also sections from within the golden hour of Christopher Wilden, Symphony C, a whole Paquita kind of like production together. So as you can see, we really show a beautiful picture of what the professional career will take you later on as you graduate and you become a professional dancer.
I think it's also helpful to add, we, across the rep that Joan pulls together for the showcase, across the dance history that our faculty focuses on in those lectures, a lot of this is kind of influenced by what Boston Ballet is doing as part of their season. Right? We're not just a summer intensive, we're Boston Ballet School summer intensive. So to really draw those connections between the school and the company and the work that's actually being done by the professionals is really important to us and to our faculty. To give people an idea of what our schedule looks like, it's a big, colorful Rubik's Cube mess. There's the 2-hour technique will come at the beginning of the day. We do have students kind of begin their day in 2 waves. So you'll see, wave 1 will do a 2-hour technique, and then wave 2 comes in and does their 2-hour technique. After the technique, we have our 1 hour of Pointe or men's class. So everyone's doing their ballet classes over the course of the first 2/3 of the day. And then those final 3 hours is where students will have 1 to 2, either the modern character, contemporary, corps de ballet would be, rehearsals would be in this period as well. So kind of those non-daily classes would be making up those last 3 hours of the day. And then along the side here, in studios 1 and 2, you'll see conditioning and lectures are kind of filling in breaks that come into play with these 2 different waves happening. So that's what a basic schedule looks like, and it's pretty consistent what students look like over the course of week to week. We make sure that students are getting rotated on who's wave 1, who's wave 2, so students don't always have to be starting at 9 or aren't always starting at 11. We do our best to make the schedule as equitable as we can across the entire student body across each week. I wanted to call out, who are our students? What are their hopes? What's their relationship to ballet? So we, as part of our end of program survey from this last summer, we asked students, what is your relationship to ballet? Is it just one extracurricular you do? Is it your main activity, but you don't want to pursue it as a career? Or, at this time, is it your hope to dance professionally? Something I want to call out for people is that really across the board, over half of our students at all levels want to dance professionally. So it's, the point that I want you to take away is that from our youngest students or our most inexperienced students to our oldest, most experienced students, they have really high expectations for themselves. So they're coming here with a really serious goal in mind, and they want to be getting a good training to help them meet those goals. So then when we ask them as well, do you believe your ballet technique improved over the course of our program? We are, this is a highlighting, how many people rated 8 to 10 out of a scale of 1 to 10. And we're seeing we're meeting expectations across all the levels. We're not seeing just levels 5 and 4 and the upper levels are giving us good feedback across levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the ensemble. The vast majority of students are believing their technique has improved. So all of our students have high hopes and have high expectations. And all of them believe that they're getting really good training that matches their hopes and their expectations. So that's ballet technique. And then same with the variety of dance curriculum, all the supplemental curriculum. Students believe that this is increasing their vocabulary as a dancer. And I know Joan and Tam could talk about how an expanded dance vocabulary beyond just ballet technique is becoming increasingly important for the profession and the industry. So we're making sure that students are giving us good experiences and good feedback on both the technique as well as the curriculum as a whole as well. So I wanted to call that out for prospective students. All of our students across the age range have high hopes, and they're really enjoying what they're getting with our program. Anything to add, Tamara, Joan?
I think you took care of that. And we'll talk, the importance of having a well-rounded curriculum, certainly in the 21st century, and training as a serious professional track dancer is really important. That's why we have the broad range of offerings as part of our full curriculum at STP. A lot of the students are being exposed to different forms of dance for the first time, and so that's important. It's interesting to see how some of them respond to that, in terms of their comfort zone. I find that it's so important to their training and just, their awareness and how important it is to be open-minded to other forms of dance, and so that's a big part of why we approach the curriculum in a more well-rounded way. So.
Well, we're going to move on to faculty just to get an idea of who is teaching with us next summer before heading on to Red Light. My goal is going to be to finish up our presentation in the next 10 minutes to leave 10 for Q&A. So now I'm officially saying it out loud, so I'm accountable to that goal. Faculty leadership. We've met Tam, we've met Joan. Ivailo Alexiev is the assistant principal at Boston Ballet School. He's also one of our core school leaders who is very much involved in this program. For those of you who are going to be auditioning for us in January, there's a very good chance you'll be taking your audition class from Mr. Alexiev. He's one of our top recruiters, runs a really great audition class, and is a huge part of our program, especially for our male students. Between Joan as well as Evo are taking a lot of the work in those partnering classes. So they get a chance, so really through partnering classes, all of our students, or the vast majority of our students, get to work with this team of BBS leadership, which is really exciting. We're also very lucky to have representation of Boston Ballet, former Boston Ballet dancers who have now become part of our full-time faculty at Boston Ballet School. Rie Ichikawa, Delight Perando, Melanie Atkins, all former dancers with Boston Ballet. So they know, like I said, trying to draw those connections between our company and our school. That's in the people we have teaching students. They know what Boston Ballet dancers look like. They are Boston Ballet dancers. And they're great people to have in front of the studios. Kind of not photographed here, but also part of our team is Pavel Gurevich and Karina Gill are parts of our faculty as well, who both have Boston Ballet backgrounds with them. From former Boston Ballet dancers, we also have current Boston Ballet dancers on our faculty: Courtney Knitting, Maria Alvarez, Lauren Herfindahl, and then again, not photographed here, but Lasha Koshashvili for our male students is a really great representation of what Boston Ballet is currently doing. They know what is happening on stage right now, and they're, again, in the way that our former company dancers are able to kind of impart their knowledge with Boston Ballet specifically, the current dancers are able to as well.
You just may mention Lauren's also an alum at the school. So yeah, she came to BBS. Yeah.
Tam, do you want to talk about some of our guest faculty?
We have an extraordinary guest faculty roster. I'm so in awe of all of them. So I'll do my best. I mean, it's a pretty extensive team. I don't have the list sitting in front of me, Sean. Certainly Sarah Roth, who was a company dancer, who is now the chair of the Department of University of Indiana, or IU, excuse me, the dance program there. Jose Manuel Carreño, oh, there's no words. He's such an extraordinary guest and genuine human, and he just takes such good care of our students during the summer and works closely with Joan and the team with the ensemble. So he's added that extra element of elevating the level of coaching with the dancers, and it's just such an extraordinary privilege to have him on the faculty team. So yeah, Pandu Malik is part of our faculty that really works on the contemporary and modern component, and she's fantastic. And so she's going to be here for her third season or fourth summer.
Might be fourth now, yeah.
She is wonderful. So there's some of our guest faculty. I do apologize. I don't know who else is on that list. It's not sitting.
Well,
no worries.
I have the list over here.
Want to take this, Joan? Yeah.
Yes, we have Michelle Giffer, who's a former New York City Ballet dancer, currently working with Ballet West as a rehearsal director. Shannon Park, who was a former ballerina with San Francisco Ballet, and also a great friend of Miko Nisinen, because a lot of us come from San Francisco Ballet. Somehow we end up now in the East Coast, but we all come from the West. Magali Suarez, who was my teacher in Cuba in my late years before I graduated. She's been in America for many, many years now. She owns her own school, and she's also a great friend of ours here at Boston Ballet. Melanie Pearson, the director of Ailey School in New York. And yes, I think we have many people. A lot of the company dancers, with their schedules permit, they come and teach a few classes. Jeff Sirio have done it, Leah Sirio, a lot of their current principal dancers. Yeah.
Beyond teaching class, Joanna, we see them taking class with students in summer as well a lot, especially as they're off for the season. So students aren't just learning from our dancers, they're also sometimes taking class right next to them, which is exciting.
Well, and just to add to that, I mean, it's an extraordinary experience for the students to have the caliber of dancers that Boston Ballet, has at the company level, and it's such a learning experience for them. I think it really gives them a clear idea of what that next step looks like, and it's incredibly inspiring. So, yeah. All right.
Residential life. Like I mentioned, even with the program running out of our Newton studio and Boston studio, we have all of the students are living in Boston. This is a relatively newer development starting in 2022. With Boston Ballet School, we really wanted to have all of our students living in Boston. With training in different studios, having as equitable an experience as possible outside the studio was really important. So BU has been our exclusive housing partner since 2022. We've been able to get some extra buildings from them and have our entire student body live in BU, which is really, really exciting. We do have two different kind of campuses within BU. I will go into those in brief detail right now. Our Fenway campus is where we have our younger students, so those who are training in Newton, plus all of our men. It's a cluster of 3 buildings like we see over here. So 2 of those are for ladies, and then 1 of those is for all the men in the program. We utilize Bartle Dining Hall right across the street, which is technically part of Simmons University, not BU, which is why it's not as colorful on this map. And then for any of our male students who are training in Boston, there's access to the Longwood T stop within a very short walking distance that they'll use to get into Boston. For our older students, so all of our ladies who are training in Boston, we are having them live at Killashond Hall. And we kind of occupied this for the most part of the entire building, floors 2 through 6. It's, pretty traditional college style dorm. And then they use the dining hall right across the street at Marciano Dining Commons. And then as all of these students are training in Boston, the Kenmore T stop is right across the street from them as well. I didn't mention this, for all of our students who are training in Newton, we have private school buses that take them from BU to Newton and back, whereas students who are training in Boston are using public transportation. The residential staff it's one of my favorite parts of the program. And, as Tam and Joan work very closely with our faculty, I work really closely with our residential staff. Between the two campuses across the entire age range, we have 50 plus residential counselors. A lot of them, come from college res life backgrounds, but a lot of them are also former SDP students, in college dance programs themselves. We've had plenty of representation from UNCSA and IU and Butler and Dean College. So it's really great to see people, who have been where students are doing summer intensives, now working with them in a different way in the dorms. We also have a team of nurses across the studios and the dorms. Both of our campuses at BU have nurses there overnight, and then both of our studios during the day have nurses at our actual studios. Physical therapy is also part of the program. We run PT out of both studio locations in Newton and Boston. This is, part of the tuition, so it's included for students who need some PTIs on soreness, light injury, triaging. It's really making sure we have Susan Kinney and her team have been working with our program for years. And they are, really great at taking care of students. They have direct ins to our partners at Boston Children's Hospital. So they're really on top of students' care over the course of their time with us. Because of because of the size of our program, we are able to accommodate a large number of students. The program is really it's a small college, basically, is what it feels like. Students come here and they are part of a huge community with a huge staff, a huge student body that they're seeing at the studios, at the dorms. It's a really large culture and a really big community that students are having access to for the entire time here, which is really exciting. This is a kind of FAQ is about students leaving campus. A quick look at what that looks like. For ages 12 to 14, students can't leave campus unless they're with either a staff member or an approved guardian that parents have approved. And then for anybody who's 15 plus, if their parent gives them permission to, and they are with another student from the program, they are able to leave campus. We use Reach Student Life Management. It's primarily like a boarding school software for kind of managing student leave requests, comings and goings. So our residential staff always has access of which students are on campus, which students are off campus, and if they're off campus, where have they gone? What is their ETA? And we have a direct line to making sure we know where students are and when they're coming back. In general, the curfew for campus in their building is 9 p.m. with a 10:30 bed check. And that's consistent across both of our campuses. In addition to all of the evening activities the residential staff are doing on campus and around Boston, the weekends do have, a combination of different activities that students can opt into. It's a really good mix every year. This is an example of what we did last year. It's a mix of, really Boston specific things like a Red Sox game or the New England Aquarium and a duck tour, a trip to Salem, Massachusetts, some things that are more dance centered, such as a trip to Saratoga to see New York City Ballet. We've also seen, gone out to Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival in the past, and then some things that are just for fun, like a trip to the Opera House to see whatever musical is touring through the city. Canopy Lake Park is always really popular, an amusement park about an hour north in New Hampshire. So these are things that students can opt into for weekends that are part of their residential experience as well. Putting the parent charts towards the end after the housing, just to kind of show here, just like students are really satisfied, parents overall are very satisfied with their students' time here and are feeling, this is a post-program survey, have, given us very positive feedback about feeling that their child was safe and in a healthy environment in our dorms and studios as well. Okay, I'll go through auditions really quick before we do Q&A. So by now, if you've seen if you're on this call, you've most likely seen an email from us or somewhere that we are now registering students for our audition tour. We're doing 5 weekends across 29 different cities in January and February. Registration is available now. If you are in any of these cities, it'll show you what your pre-registration deadline is to register. So register by Wednesday, January 7th for any of the auditions happening the weekend after. If you audition that weekend, you will hear your results by the following Friday. If you're accepted and you hear your results on those days, you have 2 weeks from that point to register for the program and accept your spot. So with that, it is a little bit of a rolling timeline with those, happening later, having a bit of a later deadline than those auditioning earlier, but there is always room in our program for students to be registering. So don't think that auditioning week 5 puts you at a disadvantage if that's just what city you live in. We have calculated it all out to work and make sure all students who have a spot in our program have a spot in our program. All right, only 2 minutes later than I wanted, but that's our presentation. That's a pretty thorough deep dive into summer dance program. And I would love to hear what questions. What did I miss?
Yeah, Sean, we have a lot of questions actually. So let's see. Let me go to the top here. Let me open this. Let me just expand this a little bit. Let's see.
I'll fill the silence by saying I love talking about this program. I'm ready. I can't wait to hear more questions. Let me keep talking about it. It's a really, really great program. It's a lot going on.
I think one of the questions I saw that came in a number of times, just wanting to get a sense of the class sizes.
Yeah.
Okay, so typically the class sizes are roughly 28 to 30 students a class. We have state-of-the-art facilities, so the studio spaces are relatively larger than most kids are used to in general. So for the summer, it usually vacillates between 28 and 30 students per level.
Okay. Here is a question. Can a 15-year-old be placed in level 4 and above? And is the birth date split for locations only for level 3 students?
The birthday split is, so the program is, the short answer is it's happened once in the past 3 years where we've seen a student who was 15 get placed at a level above 3. As we saw on the curriculum slide, level 3 and level 4 do have identical curriculum as far as what the classes are. Technique, partnering, etc. It's all the exact same classes over the course of the week. And it is the combination of age and ability. Trying to say it succinctly. I could go on forever about it.
But we stress it's one program and there's 2 low studio locations, right? So, the caliber of training and for these levels for these students are very high. The faculty, they're intense classes and there's, I think any student that comes to us is going to be sufficiently challenged. But having that level 3 across the 2 locations, we try to be really, really consistent about the curriculum we're delivering there, so there's no confusion or misunderstanding of what that is. But in general, I would say the level and the caliber of the classes are so incredibly challenging. I think most students will find that they're going to experience that.
Yeah,
okay.
and also I wanted to mention very fast that a lot of the faculty rotates through all the studios, so you would get a chance to see all of us throughout your experience here in Boston.
Yeah. And we do just want to make sure that we have what I refer to as kind of mother teachers, especially on some of the younger levels, is making it that they're getting more consistency of training. But in general, each level will have a pretty consistent teacher, a couple, 2 to 3 times a week, and then there'll be a rotation with all the other faculty, just so that we're also making sure that the students are getting that consistency during the summer. So,
okay. Here's a good one. Will students be assessed for the year-round program and placement during the summer program? So if they want to attend Boston Ballet School full-time.
Great question. I would say, so for those of you who are familiar with our professional division at Walnut Hill. So a really quick sentence on that. Walnut Hill School for the Arts is a boarding school in Natick, Massachusetts. It is an independent high school with 5 arts disciplines, and Boston Ballet oversees their dance department as our pre-professional training program. All that to say, because it's an independent high school, their admissions timeline is happening now. So the summer is a little bit late for students to get turned around for that following month's school year. So if you are interested in year-round training with our professional program, I would look into Walnut Hill School for the Arts Dance Department / Boston Ballet School's professional division right now to start getting that process underway.
That's a really great point.
Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Here was a repeat question. Level 5 and ensemble, those are the only levels that participate in the performance?
But all of the levels are working on a piece of repertoire that they showcase as part of the observation day for their families. So while the level 5 and ensemble are the ones who are performing also really just for their families in the Studio 7 black box, all of the levels are working on a piece of repertoire for the observation day.
Okay. Here is a question. How are students supervised in the dorms?
Yeah, great question. We have like I said, a team of 50 plus residential counselors. Kind of how those get distributed is they work in pairs or trios to oversee groups of 10 or 20 to 30 students. So basically the ratio is 1 staff for every 10 students, but we put them in cohorts of 20 or 30 students with 2 or 3 staff, so that there's always more than 1 residential counselor that has a relationship with each student. So that the student doesn't gel with, like if we did a straight 1 to 10 ratio and they didn't gel with their counselor, we would adjust, but we can work around that. By every student now has 2 or 3 RCs, the odds of them having a great connection with their adults who are responsible for them goes up even higher. So that's kind of the distribution. It's roughly a 1 to 10 ratio, but students have access to multiple RCs as part of their cohort.
Okay. We have a lot of questions about how many students are in each class and specifically how many students are in the ensemble level. And you may have answered that already. I apologize.
It's the same, yeah, the 28 to 30 students per class.
Okay. All right, let's see. Is that the same for the men's classes?
Correct.
Okay.
If we can get 30 men in a class, I would be happy.
Okay. Here's a question about the junior intensive. For 12-year-olds with summer birthdays, what is the birthday cutoff for the junior intensive versus the summer dance program? If
you are 12 this summer, you do have a choice of what you want to do. For someone who's that young, 4 weeks might be a lot. The 2-week program is a great option, but either one would be age eligible. For SDP, for the 4-week program, as long as the student is 12 by the program start date, they're good to go. So if they're 11 when the program starts, it's a little bit young. We want them to be 12 by the time the program starts. But for JSI, for the 2-week program, the cutoff is technically the end of August. So it's a little bit confusing, but if you email us, we can get you in the right spot. But the short answer is 12-year-olds have some options, which is really great. Okay, this is a dorm life question, and there's cool. Several components here. 1, what does laundry look like? Is it coin laundry? And how safe are the dorms? And can non-Boston Ballet / university students have access to the students' living quarters? Great questions. Laundry has been coin operated. This year, it's our plan to move to it's part of the residential fee, and that will kind of be loaded onto their BU ID. So rather than being coin operated, it'll be already paid for as part of the residential fees, and you can use your BU ID to do laundry. So that'll be a new shift this year. The dorms are very safe. Like I was talking about, your BU swipe card, that is required to access any of our buildings, any of our floors. For our Fenway campus, we are the only students using those buildings. So there's nobody besides Boston Ballet School staff and students in our 3 Fenway buildings. For the Killeshond Hall, where the older students live, we do typically share that building with another program who's occupying the top 1.5 floors. But even that is overwhelmingly, it's still like a teen program, and it's overwhelmingly Boston Ballet School students in that building still. BU does have, BU is a city of itself. They have great infrastructure, security in the dorms, especially for the Killeshond Hall, which the lobby is open. That has 24/7 security in there, as well as the swipe access. And then as part of that security component, no other non-residential students are not allowed into the dorms. It really is just for the residential students.
Do we have a time for a few more questions?
I have nowhere to be till work tomorrow morning, so I'm good. Yeah.
I do. I'm still at work.
Here's one.
Go ahead.
One question: are scholarships awarded? That's something that hasn't really been addressed.
Yeah, we do. So as part of the audition tour, or video auditions, whatever your kind of channel is, faculty are evaluating for merit award as part of the auditions. So if a student is awarded merit awards, that will be communicated with the acceptance. Right with that acceptance is when we would be offering merit awards. In addition to that, we do have need-based financial assistance that students can apply for. We work with the families to kind of figure out, if it's, what can we offer need-wise? Can we play with payment plans? We're pretty direct in working with the families to, exhaust all options to make it work. And if we can't make it work and students have applied for financial assistance, we do require students to register, put down the deposit, just so they have a spot secured before they apply for aid. But if we've done the aid process and we can't offer enough for them to make it work, they can withdraw for that full refund of their deposit. So we work with families, and then if we can't make it work, there is pretty minimal financial stake or loss for them at that point.
Okay. And then last question, and I'm going to try to kind of combine a bunch, but there's quite a few questions about video auditions versus in person. Is one better than the other? Do you recommend, et cetera? Any guidance on that?
No,
the
do
one
whatever's
thing
easiest
that's
for
nice
you guys.
about the in-person though is they get this opportunity to meet the faculty, and there's we try to, when we run the auditions, we want to create this sort of master class experience for the students, so that gives them an idea of who they're going to be learning for the summer. But Sean, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's a great. You said it better than I did. There was as far as acceptance likelihood, there's no difference. You'll have a great experience taking a class from one of our faculty if you do an in-person audition.
Okay. Well, we are about almost 5 minutes over, so I want to thank you. Is there anywhere that, if we have not gotten to someone's question, is there a place we can direct them to?
Yes, it's really, really easy. It is SDP, Summer Dance Program, SDP@bostonballet.org. And that would be the best place to email us. We have both myself and then Caroline Elliott, who's in this call but hiding, are basically both full-time dedicated to this program. So we have, a lot of time and resources going into our families and getting everybody set up for auditions for the program and making sure everybody is feeling really comfortable coming into the summer.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And I apologize. I know there are a couple of straggling questions that I didn't quite get to. So hopefully we can connect you directly. And
yeah, please.
And again, this webinar will live on Pointe Magazine's YouTube channel. So if you want to come back and refresh your memory on some things, you are welcome to do so. I want to thank all of our panelists tonight. This was really lovely. And again, I said this before it started, but I wish I had had something like this when I was a young dancer.
Me too.
Very informative. So I thank you all so much.
This was so fun. Thank you, Amy.
Great. Thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
We hope to see you this summer.